Lootboxes, they've been around for a while now. This is so topical that it's already 10 years old. How do we feel about lootboxes as indie game developers?
What's the definition of gambling? Like legally. Question is like how ethical is that, or is that okay, right?
Doesn't it feel like all the problematic parts of games, like elements of game design that have gotten worse over the years and really have been bad for the mentality of gamers, they all stem from RPGs?
I agree with Henry on this one. I think, Zeth, you're completely wrong. And you should reevaluate your life choices.
Loot boxes have that same addictive elements of like getting something a reward for.
But I mean, so have games in general this addictive element.
I think that's such bullshit that you're saying, oh, I would be.
But
okay
I mean,
with that. When you spend...
even if I wanted them to play the whole game, that wouldn't be predatory. It's only predatory if I trick them into playing the whole game with some weird practice.
No, you're wrong. There is an obvious downside, is that they don't get to experience the whole game.
Do you guys upload TikToks? How many hashtags do I do? Did you do two? Do I lie and say you?
At least one.
At least one, yeah, obviously. Thank you for your
I don't know.
It.
Not uploaded a TikTok.
Okay, well, you know what? I tried. Here's the real question. Is this gonna mindfuck me if I upload and then we start doing the podcast? Am I gonna be like, guys, that's a great point. And then I'm just looking at stuff.
I think so, yeah. At least like do it before or do it like completely after, you know?
I think I'm just gonna do it now. It'll be fine. It's like when you do it and you go to sleep. It's like the idea. It's like, I can't look. I'm doing something.
I always do it before I go to bed. And I wake up and I check it and then I get disappointed.
Do you ever wake up early? Because I'm ready to check that thing. And you're like, it's like 3 a.m. your time, and you're like, this.
No. It's not really on my mind.
Maybe roguelike.
Usually
is that like a thing? Godot?
I would like just look at trending similar things and see their hashtags or basically just copy it.
My understanding, and I could be completely wrong because we're all losers who don't know how any of this works. I don't think anyone really does, right? Everyone's just guessing.
I know how it works.
Yeah.
You guys just never ask me. I know how it works.
Okay, well tell me how it works, you fucking smart guy. Oh.
Smart guy. Good one.
Yeah.
We got a long podcast ahead of us. There's no reason to get demonetized already. I'm going to say roguelike. All right, here's how I think it works, and this is all I think. I think when you put hashtags in, it shows it to people that's in there trending. But if you put some hashtags that don't fit, I think it's a pretty fast way for it to be like, we showed it to people, they didn't like it, we stopped showing it to people. I think, but I could be wrong. Also, probably followers helps. I don't know. Fuck it.
Yeah. We're ready?
No, I need the top.
What are we talking about?
Good question. All right, let's browse the topic list.
Bro, I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm gonna fucking find you, and I'm gonna
Wait, are you bringing out the bottle cap again?
Henry, are you recording?
I started recording when we all said we were.
We're all recording?
Yeah.
I'm recording.
Okay, what's up? Welcome to the Overscoped podcast. My name is MZ_Eth. I have Henry, aka Vera Studios.
Hello.
Kobe Dev on YouTube.
What's up?
And Maxi Dev on YouTube.
Hello.
What's going on, guys? Tell me something fun and interesting.
Lootboxes.
We can jump into it. Lootboxes. They've been around for a while now. This is so topical that it's already 10 years old. That's a lot similar to gambling. You spend your money, you get a little fake doll or toy or pair of pants or whatever, and you feel good about yourself. Are they morally good, morally neutral, good, bad for the gaming industry? How do we feel about lootboxes as indie game developers? Maxi.
Well, I like money.
It was a great episode, guys. So tomorrow, if you want to meet up...
I like money. Me too.
No, I like... well, I like money. I don't think that loot boxes that you pay for is a good thing to have in a game. I wouldn't put that into a game. Don't quote me on that if I'd ever do it in the future, but...
Is it unethical? Let's say there was a loot box game where you're just motivated to play the game more and more and more. Because aren't there people that, like, they'll play a game forever and they feel like their life is slipping away, but these games are designed to kind of do that to you? Not just these games, all games. So as loot boxes in another level above that, even if they aren't paid for, where it's just like, oh man, you get in that grind and you haven't seen daylight in a couple weeks. You said you're fine with them as long as you don't pay. So I'm thinking, what if would you be fine? Is there no level of like manipulation?
Yeah. I don't think I played a game where that's the case. When I think of unpaid loot boxes that you can only buy with in-game currency, then I think of Rainbow Six Siege. They have alpha packs that you can open and you can get skins, but you only get them through playing. You can't buy them with real money. I don't think they make you play the game more, maybe a little bit more, but it's not like they are the thing that makes you I don't think they make the game worse, and I don't think they make my experience worse or something. I think they're just a way to. That's a good question, actually. Wait, the question is if that's bad or if that makes me play more.
As a game developer, would you shy away from it at all? And then we could talk as a game player how you feel about it, because there's two experiences. Sometimes we'll feel a certain way about a thing, and then we realize that as a game player we don't care. We talk about that with creative integrity in art. It's like, as a game player I don't care, so why as a creator are you so worried? But so about loot boxes, as a game creator, does it make you feel like scummy to put them in, even if they are free?
If they're free, no. It's the same thing as having a random loot drop, right? Like if you
That's true, yeah.
have an MMO and you kill monsters and they have a chance of dropping something good or something bad, then that's essentially an unpaid loot box.
I don't think that's true. I feel like you can say that the outcome is the same, but that's not. If that is what all it was, then we would just have, loot drops on the enemies, right? But the experience of going and collecting this randomized thing and then opening it is a different experience, right? So that's going to be separate from the player. You could say that the outcome is different, but I think the point is that when you have that experience, you do create sort of what is it called? Like a
risk reward, I think.
Not a risk reward. It's like a different mechanic that you're adding in. You're adding in a gambling mechanic, basically. Even though you're not putting in any money. What's the definition of gambling? Like legally, it's supposed to be like
in the English dictionary.
What
is gambling?
You don't get anything in return for the money that you put in. Right, so loot boxes are sort of on the fringe of that, because even if you don't get an item that you want, you still get in-game currency, so it's still technically not gambling because of that reason, right?
So gamble, a verb, is in the Oxford Dictionary defined as to play games of chance for money, and then semicolon bet, basically.
Bets.
Yeah.
Playing on cards and horse, I have the same thing up. But number 2, Kobe, if you want to read that one.
No, you can read that one.
Oh, okay,
because I did not get a number 2.
Oh, number 2 says take risky action. In Australia, they probably blocked this because they don't want to give you the truth, okay? But in the Oxford Dictionary up here, we have take risky action in the hope of a desired result. So that kind of fits what Henry's talking about, where it's like, I don't know, you're just hoping you win big money. You're not putting in money, you're not losing actual money, but you're trying to have a big win out of something.
So that is if you put in in-game money for an in-game loot box, right? Like if you.
Well, I think legally, I guess I kind of strayed away from that part. If we just want to focus like outside of the money aspect, like it's still like putting. Or even just the act of collecting a loot box, like in Rainbow, you just like have to play the game, right? To collect it. So you just play the game and you have this loot box. It is so separated from the experience of actually playing the game, which is what enemy drops would be, that it creates a new experience for the player. And I think that experience is seen as predatory, right? Because it adds a new incentive for the player to continue playing. Because the reward isn't killing an enemy in game, the reward is keep playing more games, and then you'll get more loot boxes. So the incentive is different.
So it's different from a drop mechanically.
Yeah, it's different from a drop mechanically, and I feel like the question is like, how ethical is that, or is that okay, right? That's what Zeth was asking.
Here's what I would say. It feels scummy. There's like these, inherently these are going to be with money, because I think it's like an EA, not a TED Talk, but the video game talk. And it feels kind of scummy when developers are like, we maximize to get our players to play for longer. We maximize for them to spend as much money. And then it's hard not to walk away from those talks going like, how much game development are we doing, and how much like mind fucking are we doing to young children who are just like not okay with the they're just looking at a screen with bright lights on it, and we're just trying to like zap their energy and their time away from them. That's the thing that kind of I think seems problematic even when money's not involved. When money's involved, I think it's undeniable. Like it is gambling. I think it's just gambling. I'm okay with gambling in games, but you probably should be over whatever the age to legally gamble. But we shouldn't call it like it's just loot boxes when you're spending real money to get, prizes, right? Is kind of what it is.
It's gambling, except you can't win.
Well, yeah, there's like some caveats. Like, doesn't CS have like you can win knives and you can sell though? I don't know. There might be. But even without that, even with your money just always being gone, I still think it's gambling. I mean, it fits all the definitions that we see here. It's like you're spending money on a thing and you're hoping to get something of value, and you're not guaranteed that chance.
Yeah, I think I think that's an interesting point about the like you're conditioning kids or younger people who don't have access to that to sort of um be in that mindset of like, hey, I'm about to risk like even if it's through gameplay, I'm about to risk. Basically you're trading your time instead of money, right? You're trading games.
Because time is money, right?
Well, and then in the MOBA arena, you're putting ads in front of the screen of the child or whoever has the phone. So, like, in a way, you are, like, farming them for content. You're just trying to keep them for longer.
Yeah, I want to move away from, like, the money aspect just because, like, I think the issue still persists even if there is no money involved. Because, like I said, Max, you kind of gave a look. When I said you're spending time, you're exchanging time for loot boxes.
I want there to be like a stat of how many people just watch the podcast versus just listen to the podcast, and Maxie's like, I'm giving looks. It's like, no one is.
Yeah, you gotta narrate your looks, yeah. I'm currently giving a look.
Listeners, you're missing out if you're not on the YouTube right now.
When did I give a look?
When I said that, you're exchanging time for loot boxes.
Exchanging time?
Because I'm like thinking about it. Because if you play Rainbow normally, you still get the alpha packs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like next game I'm gonna get it, or if I win next game I'm gonna. It's like next game I could potentially get it if I win.
Adding in another layer of abstraction in the gambling.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's gambling. I mean, okay, I can. There is an in-game currency called Renown that you can only get by playing as well, which you can use to buy alpha packs. In this case, I think I can agree that it goes in the direction of gambling. But if you just play and you get alpha packs and you open the alpha packs and then you get a random skin, I don't think I wouldn't call this gambling,
right?
I wouldn't.
But like instead of gambling with like real money, you're gambling with fake money, right? And it takes
you're not
time,
right,
to get this fake money, right?
I mean, you're getting alpha packs,
spending
which you have to spend time to get. That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you but you get this alpha pack no matter what, and if you open it, it's not like you're gonna get something for not opening it. So it's not like you can do something else with it instead of opening it. So you just get it, and
so
you can either
you're saying you just like,
right?
You just get these coins by just playing the game like as you would normally, and then the alpha pack's kind of just off the side. And you're not really thinking about it. Is that like
the way the system works in Rainbow is you play matches, and if you finish the match and you win, you get the chance for an alpha pack, and the chance, like you start with 2% chance, and if the more matches you play, the higher the higher the chance gets, and if you win, then you always the wheel spins, and you either get an alpha pack or you don't. But you cannot stop. You can't stop this from happening as a player. So you can't like opt out of alpha packs or whatever. But you could just not open the alpha packs. Yeah, you get the alpha packs and you just open them. And you can also buy alpha packs for Renown, which is also the in-game currency you get only by playing.
So what I'm saying is, you're basically describing a roulette wheel. You get a roulette wheel that automatically spins after you play a game, depending on whether you win or not.
Yeah.
But if you play a game, it increases your chances of the roulette wheel, regardless of whether you win.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you win. Yeah. So you have this layer of the wheel that increases your chances the more games you play, the more time you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would disagree with you saying maybe that's your experience, that it's like secondary and you don't really think about it, but that is definitely not the experience of everybody, or else nobody would really be up in arms about it, right? Everybody would be like, oh, who cares? It's just like a secondary feature. Like the experience of somebody looking at a skin. I think it happened to you too. What was that? Black eye skin? Right? These skins, there are skins in the game that are really like sought after, right? So people will play going like, oh, let me just play a few more games so I can see if I can spin this roulette wheel to see if I can get this pack to see if I can get in the pack the percentage chance of getting this one skin. And in that way, I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are actively thinking about exchanging their time for this valuable skin that, you know, people want.
Here's another thing too. All right. Loot boxes. First off, there's a couple things here. One I want to point out real quick because I think it connects to this. There are really like two types of loot boxes, right? It's not actually all happening at random. That would be like the old school loot boxes. That's like video games. When I grew up in like the early 2000s, a lot of RPGs had like, it wouldn't be loot boxes, but say like a good weapon would drop. It would just drop at like randomly. There was like a percent chance for it to drop. The percent would be very, very low, right? But nowadays what we have is we have certain things. There's a term for it in gacha games, but I don't play enough to know it. But basically it's like when you bottom out. If you lose for long enough in any of these loot box games nowadays, it just has a set number of like you've opened this many and it's like, boom, here's your thing that you deserve. And the whole point there is to keep you playing the game. And I think my understanding is that's incredibly effective. Like, it makes people want to play your game way longer because we can't handle the randomness of like getting two legendaries back to back. But our brain is like super tapped into the dopamine receptor of getting a legendary and then having a little bit of a pause, feeling like it's not coming back, and oh my god, there it is again, and then we're back in, and it fucking drags you back. Like, it is this ultra effective way to mind fuck yourself. But there's more.
Yeah,
Keep going. Sorry,
I think yeah, no, I think it's the same with like free ones, because in some settings you can actually sell, if you get something valuable, you can sell it for real life money. So like there is a reward, and then people tend to think, okay, so there's a reward in this, an actual like tangible reward I can do. I'm gonna put even more time into it. Yeah. And instead of taking their time and doing something else like working a job and getting actual money, they would spend it doing this. I mean, this is not everyone, of course. There's people who aren't like losers and gamblers and degenerates, but like
losers, those are customers. Kobe, okay.
Those are customers. My bad. I'm not getting hired at EA, I guess. Yeah,
you get out of your college and in the real world working like us, right? Making your gacha games
in the real world. Yeah, sure.
I want to say this though. Doesn't it feel like all the problematic parts of games, like elements of game design that have gotten worse over the years and really have been bad for the mentality of gamers, they all stem from RPGs? Like, how is it that one genre encapsulates so many? Between like grinding out levels, grinding out items, loot boxes, all this stuff is tied to like, yeah, if you just have a character and that character is persistent, you're gonna throw away your whole life to live in EverQuest for 14 hours. Like, it's literally like, it's so funny how many problems stem from RPGs. But I love them. They're like my favorite genre.
I feel like this one in particular, loot boxes aren't really RPGs, right? That didn't come from RPGs. That's just...
To come full circle, I think that's a weapon drop. That's kind of what it is. But in Diablo, what would happen is you would drop a weapon, it would be unidentified, and what would happen is you would go back to the town and identify it. You're opening the loot box. You're like, I don't know what this is. Oh my god, I hope this is what literally, this would be like a really famous thing that happened in that game. And I feel like ever since then, it's just gotten, how much more anticipation can we put on the box, like opening, and there's an animation, and sound effects, and there's a guy going like, legendary, and you're like, oh my god, and you just bust a nut or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I feel like the difference is that that layer of abstraction makes it so... Well, I don't know how you feel about it now, Maxi, but I feel like you were like, what are your thoughts on it now?
It's just it's just randomness, but it's like delayed randomness, so you have this anticipation that is there. But I don't think it's problematic. I mean, I know people who play Rainbow maybe a little bit longer, just to, you know, they say, okay, I'll play it until I get another alpha pack or something. But it's not like they do it and then they actually expect to get like a black eyes. Like, I think it's much too rare for that. Like, there's no cap, like in 10 alpha packs you're gonna get a black eyes. No, it's just I've played this game for more than 1,000 hours and I got one black eyes that I really wanted.
So you played for
the non-viewers right now. Henry's looking at the camera.
I didn't play the game because of the alpha packs.
See, Maxi just admitted.
Maybe he doesn't even know he's getting dragged in.
I played for 1,000 hours just to get the black eyes.
Exactly.
He just said it.
Just for MP7 black eyes.
I think I don't know if you can say that nobody does that. I feel like there are definitely people that do that. You know, like especially in Apex has a similar thing where you get what is it called?
You get loot boxes.
You get loot boxes, but they have this thing.
The heirlooms.
Heirloom shards. When in loot boxes, there's this like super rare chance of getting heirloom shards, and people are always like trying to go for that. You know.
I think I had over 1,000 hours. I never had one heirloom. I used to play the game every fucking day. But yeah so that isn't the same as like a guaranteed thing to go off. But I think in a lot of games there's like the guaranteed thing is getting a legendary, but there's good and bad legendaries. So you're like, oh, I hope that I get a good one this time or whatever. But yeah, these are different genres. So different genres are going to handle loot boxes differently. But it just seems like we're getting way better at what makes it good. And I'm not so sure we should be getting better at what makes it good, if that makes any sense. Getting better at making people addicted. It is a weird place to be.
You know, as game developers, we're always trying to make the gamer like try to play our game for longer. You know, whether that's like if we're like playtesting, we try to change our game so they enjoy the game more, so they can continue playing it.
Yep.
Right?
There's some cope up that, but yeah, fundamentally that is true.
Yeah. What makes the loot box idea so much worse than like the level design, which is built for ultimately like the same reason?
The level design, you know, you're getting a certain payout at a certain thing, and you can even calculate a lot of times how many each enemy is killing, and you're like, I can see this progression. The loot box thing is hoping. You're hoping you get the thing that you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, there's just this stigma with gambling, because I think, like I said before, I think loot boxes are gambling, and there's a stigma there, and people think they have a principled position on gambling when typically they don't. Yeah, typically they don't. It's just like a battleground for people to have like their opinions, especially when it comes to like Twitch streamers that are playing, they're literally gambling live on stream, and it's just like, oh, I don't like that guy because he gambling. And there's this level of like sort of inherited beliefs. It's like, oh, I don't like gambling because someone I watched said gambling is bad, so I think all loot boxes are bad. And then you get to rope in the whole EA stuff where it's like EA's evil, Activision, Bobby Kotick, and you get to just put a nice bow on it and go, oh, that's evil. And then you get to even go like this. Games used to be so great when I was a kid. Like, really, were they great when you were fucking playing Soul Reaver, walking around in circles because you can figure out where the door was? Like, games were way worse. Let's be honest. They were worse. They were smaller. Henry's making faces.
Wait, Soul Reaper? What the fuck is that?
I'm just throwing out some old ass game.
Old, right?
Because I remember going to Cheat Code Central trying to get walkthroughs, all right? That shit sucked, all right? But no, people don't remember any of that stuff. They just think that they have nostalgia trips like I do. But games are better now, even if they are more addictive. Just it's like a positive and a negative that comes with that.
Where do we draw the line? Like, loot box. What becomes a loot box and what isn't, right? Is there a solid line? Or is it more like a grey area? Like, is it a loot box if you're not paying money for it? Or is it a loot box if it's not completely random? So, where does that line get drawn? Or like, yeah.
I think loot drops is more of an interesting way to evaluate it. Because you're right, because like at some point it is like, in Diablo 2, identifying an item, it is like the same thing. So what's more important is like, at what point is loot dropping turning into like the game versus because there is a separate thing where now it exists in a separate menu. It has its own like horse and pony show where like you're putting so much attention on it. I think that's more the thing. The idea of calling it a loot box or not, I think is almost irrelevant, right? The idea is that you're hoping you get a really nice item and you're playing over and over and over again to kind of get it. And then I think an important part of it is that there's that sense of like, I have it and I don't know what it is yet. I think those elements have to be there for a loot box.
I don't know if that's 100% true. I think in order for something to be a loot box, it sort of has to be separated from the gameplay experience, because I thought that thing that you said was interesting about like getting a unidentified object or whatever.
Yep.
Because Destiny had that too with engrams.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like engrams in Destiny 2 were I didn't really view that as a loot box. I don't know if that's because you got it in game. I think I disagree. I think it has to be separated from the gameplay in order to be a loot box. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, because like at what point does it become like something that you would go out of your way to restart the mission over and over again to just get to this one point where you pick up some loot, and then like just think about it as your traditional loot box where you just go in the menu and you've got some credits or something and you have to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
So like what point does it become just random chance that you have like a randomizer in game and then like an actual loot box? So like I agree with Henry on this one. I think Zeth, you're completely wrong. And you should reevaluate your life choices.
Kobe, here's what really happened. Kobe's like, I'm not in the intro enough. I'm trying to give out some good fucking lines with the intro. I think I agree with Henry too. I think I was wrong. No, I don't know. There's actually one thing that I think what you're saying, Henry, makes more sense and is more is an aspect that we're forgetting, is that it seems like in loot boxes, the reason why you separate it out and you have it separate than your gameplay a lot, and why it can be effective that way, is because now, motherfucker, you get to go, hey, you haven't opened our game in a while, and there's a notification counter of all those loot boxes, and they're just getting big. And like that does feel like, what is the game now? Like, what are you doing? You're just like, you're notifying me, my phone's lighting up or whatever. It's like, yeah, it feels like we're getting further and further away from the game and more of like this social interaction of like, we know that you like it when there's that red dot like on Discord, whatever, you know, when there's any notification thing. We're just playing off of that and just trying to drag you back in what feels like a nefarious way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're probably right. It probably, for me, I don't give a fuck if there's items to identify, but I think it's different when there's a number of boxes that's collecting. It just feels like more of a focus for your game, like a pillar. One of my pillars is loot boxes. It almost feels like it.
Yeah, I feel like that was I didn't whenever you separate that out, yeah, that's true. You can then add in more opportunities, like separate it from the gameplay to entice your players to come in. Yeah, I agree.
Cut out my bad take, and then I'll be like, we all agree with Henry. Henry's can't look dumb in the first 5 episodes. God damn. Henry, are you putting loot boxes in a game? If you had a good, oh, that sounded so mean. If you had a good game, if you had a game coming out on Steam, and you were like, someone pitched me on the loot boxes, they're gonna code it all in, and it's gonna fit. It's all gonna make sense for the theme and the lore of the story, and it is gonna be separate. It's not gonna be like identified items. It's gonna be loot boxes. Would you put that in your game if someone said it's gonna, you know, it'll be the difference between you doing this full time and doing this as a hobby?
I feel like I've been very or I feel like I sounded very against loot boxes, but I kind of like I like loot boxes.
Yeah, as soon as you mentioned you'll get heaps of money, it's like I'm in. I don't care. I'm in.
I think loot boxes are fun, and I feel like there's a lot of things that you can do that are predatory around it, like especially in mobile games where you're like, oh, hey, here's your loot boxes and whatever. But I think there's ways that you can design around that to make it less predatory and more like acceptable to people. So an idea that I had was, this is an idea. This is something that I want to implement in a game that I have out right now, the fruit game. I have a fruit. It's like, yeah. So my idea was you could have a shop that is just filled with cosmetics. And you can either buy a loot box or buy directly in the shop, you know? So if you want to supersede the loot box experience entirely, you can do that, or you could just buy loot boxes. And I feel like that solves a lot of the issues that people are looking for. And it feels like, at the same time, it feels like, man, this feels kind of, I feel like there are still some problems with that, but I feel like a lot of those problems are solved with having all the items freely available too.
Sort of, but you're losing all the fun in it too, right? Because a lot of the fun is like, I can't get this thing any other way. This is how I have to get it. And then when you finally do get it, you're paid off. But if you could just...
A little bit. I think a little bit. But I think the benefit would be like if you had like common items that are like $10, you know? Not real $10, but like $10.
Berry bucks or whatever.
Yeah, berry bucks. And then you have something that's like $100. And you could say, oh, 100 berry bucks. You could say, oh, loot boxes cost $10. And you get an option, berry bucks, to buy a loot box, and it can have anything in the store. There would still be reason for you to buy a loot box over buying it directly. But if you've been playing long enough, it's like, bro, I just want this one thing. Let me just go and buy it. I feel like that's also like a great option. But I don't know. I think I agree that it sort of does take away a little bit of the fun.
Stuff that makes it problematic is also the stuff that makes it fun, which is the problem.
It's like, what's the fun in going to the casino and getting your Monopoly money out and saying, okay, I'll put $100 on red. Instead, you could take out a $50,000 loan from the bank and put it all on number one. And like, you're just having much more fun at that point when you're just high risk, you know, so much fun.
You know,
no, I don't know.
There's a really interesting stat about gamblers, is that it's like 99% of gamblers quit right before they win big. Right before they win big. So if you're a gambler, I'm just saying, 99% don't quit
before you win big. Yeah, don't quit.
Also, I changed my mind. Okay. Loot boxes are great, and also you can have paid loot boxes in the fruit game.
So you would add loot boxes, but you would undermine the loot boxes because you're a soy loser who doesn't want to commit to Gamba.
I think you're right that there is some fun in having locked items. So maybe I would have a couple locked items behind loot boxes. Maybe I would.
He's designing live on
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
think because I feel like
His mind is.
you're right, but
I
But-
am. Yes. Clip that one.
I feel like
Multiple.
the joy out of opening like a loot box and seeing one of these locked things. I'm trying to think of, is there a way that you can keep that same experience of having something locked behind the loot box, but still make it not predatory? And I'm trying to think like maybe like regardless of however many points, like after 10 games you get a point or whatever.
I don't
And
think
then, like,
Rainbow's
this-
loot boxes are predatory, and everything's
yeah.
almost yeah. All the good skins I want are behind them, are locked behind them.
You're saying
So wait, Rainbow has loot boxes that aren't the alpha packs? Are they the same thing or different things? 'Cause I don't play the game.
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know about there are different packs. I didn't play that much recently to understand that. But there are also other packs. I'm not sure if
Mr.
they're
1,000 Hours,
real loot boxes. Now, but talking about alpha packs, I don't think they're predatory.
but the other ones are.
Yeah, no, I disagree. I just
The other ones,
you're
I don't know.
wrong about that.
Okay.
You're just wrong about that.
What makes the other ones more predatory than the alpha packs then?
I don't know if the other ones are more. I opened 2 of them and I didn't know how I got them.
And you didn't feel like they
Wait,
were
so
preying
didn't you
on
say they were predatory? Or did you say they're not predatory? Because
I say I don't know. I don't
tripping.
know. I don't.
Okay.
I opened 2
It's
of them and I don't know how to
agnostic.
get them.
Mhm.
I don't know if you can buy them. I don't know if how they work. But I don't think. Yeah, I wouldn't call
Maxi, how
them
about you?
predatory.
Are you ever adding loot boxes to your game?
No paid ones, but unpaid ones maybe. I don't
Why
think
not
there's a
paid?
problem with that.
If they're
not
fine, Maxi, why not paid?
Yeah,
Well,
make
because
that back.
that's gambling, right? But if they're
It's still
not paid,
gambling.
then that's.
Wait,
I don't think that that's.
Nah, it's not as the same thing. I see what you're saying.
I think if we go back to real quick, I don't know if I'd put it in a Steam game, just because I feel like you pay for a game, like you should have the complete game. You should be able to unlock things through like progress, skill-based stuff.
Well, what if it's both? Where it's like
Sure.
you can pay for the loot box, that's for cosmetics, or you could unlock the loot box, that's for cosmetics.
Okay.
As soon as you start
okay,
adding
okay,
stuff in,
Here's
then it's
here's
gambling.
here's the only way I add loot boxes to a game is when it improves the experience for the player. Like if it's like an actual fun part and not just there to
Cosmetics?
be predatory or to make them. If the goal is to make the game more fun, then I do it.
I think the problem is that just by the nature of the loot box, what Zeth said, loot boxes are just predatory. You can try to design around it, but it destroys a bit like the core essence of what a loot box is.
I think you can
No.
you can make it predatory, but I think loot boxes, as a concept itself, it isn't like predatory as a default.
I don't agree with that. I feel like it's like streaming. I feel like streaming is like a predatory practice. Loot boxes is like an
Streaming?
inherently predatory. Yeah.
You mean Twitch streaming?
Yeah. Like
What?
streaming, like I don't know if we should get into that, but I mean, there are things. It's like
Price for, like,
it's like a drug dealer, right? It's something that we can all agree is pretty like really predatory. Like drugs are fun and good because they make you feel happy and people get hooked on them.
Drugs are good, alright. Drugs are good.
Drugs are
Henry.
fun and good
Henry.
because they make you
Okay,
feel happy.
Clip that.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
Drugs are good and fun because they make you feel happy, and people who sell them are by nature predatory because it has like this addictive element to it, right? And I feel like loot boxes have that same addictive element of like getting something a reward for.
But I mean,
basically
so
nothing.
have games in general this addictive element.
Goes
Like
back to RPGs.
that's just I guess games. Then I don't know.
So,
Don't be a game developer.
I think you could extrapolate.
There's
that
some
out.
truth
No,
to
no.
that, yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that is also true. Like you could. I feel like you got that as a oh gotcha. No, but games are also predatory, just like by the nature of games. Games are like trying to make you spend time, for an extended period of time.
But I mean,
Yeah, it feels like the cope we do to. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, then so are films, so are YouTube videos. So is everything, right?
Yeah, people talk
Yeah,
about that shit
YouTube
all the
videos,
time.
yeah.
People talk about how like, oh, this video is clickbaity, and actually it wasn't worth the time that I spent. You know, people talk about doom scrolling like on TikTok, going like, oh, wasted my time watching these videos.
Yeah, but
like,
still, not
I
every
feel like
TikTok,
you're
not every video, not every film, not every whatever is predatory just because of that, right?
I think a lot of content, especially short form, is like very predatory. You want to hook the viewer in and get them on the app as long as possible. And the reason for that is, like, as creators, you want that because your video will get shown to more people and you get more outreach. And the actual platform wants that because they can show more advertisements and then make more money. So it's all there for like a reason. But I think just going back to the topic that we were gonna say is like, does loot boxes, does it matter what type of game
Wait.
they're in? Or
Before we
should
get
it
too
be-
far, I want to comment on that because I sorry to cut you off on that because it feels like
Yeah.
you're recentering. But on that little tangent, so it seems what we're saying is that game design in general or game development is really predatory in nature. There's a lot of practices, whether or not they're about loot boxes, that are geared towards getting your player to replay the game. Here's the shining beacon of hope that exists through all of that is that all of the manipulation stuff. The counter to those arguments is that ideally, when we started doing any of this, and the genre started, movies, games. TV shows, any of that stuff, is what it was about making cool content. It was about making art, right? So we originally started as artists want to make really cool things, and then you start to make a little bit of money, and now they start chasing the wrong thing. Now it's like, okay, how do I get my person to play my game instead of being like, how to make a game that I thought was fucking cool? Because that should have been the point to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also wouldn't say that if I make a game, the goal is that people play it as much as possible. I don't think that's
Yeah, I don't
the
think that's a
goal
goal for
with
most
whatever.
games.
what's the goal? What's your goal?
The goal is to make a good game so the player has a good experience, right?
And I think it's good to have an end of a game. My game had a start, a middle, a finish, and you had a cool experience.
Yeah.
You didn't want to refund it. You know what I mean? I did my thing, and then we move on to my next game. It doesn't have to be a forever project.
Same as films. Films don't, most films don't try to make you, to manipulate you to
Rewatch it.
rewatch it.
Spend
That's
as much
just-
time.
Or buy 4 sequels. The analogy would be you just don't want people getting up and leaving midway through your film. I don't want people getting up and leaving midway through my game and never finishing it, right? I don't want a 4-hour game where they got 30 minutes in and was like, what? What's
Well,
happening?
Maxi didn't say that, right? Maxi said that to make a good game for people to have fun, right? That's the goal.
I mean, yeah. And
What if somebody-
they will
okay,
stop
okay.
playing the game halfway through when they don't have fun, right? Like
So let me ask you a question. What if you make your game, a bunch of people buy it, and everybody has the same experience of like, this game is super fun. I played the first 10 minutes of it. I haven't touched it since, but that first 10 minutes was really fun. I don't plan on going back on it though. How
I mean,
would that?
if it doesn't give you a lasting impression, and well, it's a fun game. The first 10 minutes were fun, but I don't plan going back. I don't think that's
They're
possible.
not asking for a refund. They're not asking for anything. They said this 10 minutes of gameplay, this one level was really good in particular. So I think this 10
So
10 minute
that's
level
enough
was
for
good.
me. I guess that's fine for me if they don't, right? Like if you play the first 10 minutes of a game, then you think that's great and I don't need more. I guess whatever. Why would I care?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
It
I
makes
already
some-
got the
some
money.
people happy. Yeah.
I would care, but I don't think
Customers
this
happy.
premise exists. I don't think there's any game where it was so much fun that I'm leaving a good review saying it was amazing, but I'm never coming
Yeah.
back to it for reasons like
It is.
I
It is
think
a
you need a
hypothetical.
It is a
Yeah,
hypothetical.
which I'll engage with, but I need some reasoning why people would walk away. Because my reaction would be, I would want to fix that. I think that's true for all of us. I think we're lying to ourselves. We wouldn't say we want to fix the idea that a player stop playing before finishing our game for some reason. I want to figure out that reason and fix it. But if that was unfixable for something, or it was just inherent to the process of the game I made, for some reason this mechanic was just fun for 10 minutes and they would never want to play it, then at least it's like, hey, I made something fun and people are resoundingly positive about it. Like there is an upside to that. It's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine.
Well, I just want to hit on something real quick that Maxi said is like, why would I care? I already got the money. I thought the goal was for people to have fun, right?
Yeah,
But now
when they
you're
had
talking
fun,
about
that
money?
goal is rigged as
Damn.
well. It's not like, I
No.
don't have any downsides from that. It's not like,
No, yeah.
No,
so-
you-
and
no,
it's
no,
a stupid
no, you're
hypothetical.
They already have
wrong.
fun.
There is an obvious downside is that they don't get to experience the whole game. Like how that's so. I think that's such bullshit that you're saying. Oh, I would be.
but I
okay
mean,
with that. When you spend,
even if I wanted them to play the whole game, that wouldn't be predatory. It's only predatory if I trick them into playing the whole game with some weird practice. That's like, if I would pretend that they would get their money back if they finish the game or something, that would be predatory, right?
I was trying to be in the intro. Sorry.
What a phony ass loser. No, I think Henry was making some good points there. I don't know. There's something to be said of like, if you're an artist and you're creating something, you want people to see it. So the idea that you made hours of a game and people only saw 10 minutes, like that is sad, and that's not the point. Even if you made the money, even if everything went well for you, if you're making art that no one's seeing, something is going poorly.
It's a weird hypothetical. He was saying it is not going poorly, but they still don't want to come back. So
what if it's that experience of this game is kind of bad. There's so much like technical debt, like the finals, right? You have moments of the finals that you enjoy, right?
Okay, yeah, to be fair.
But you don't want to go back to that game because there's so many other issues, technical issues that are with the game. So, but I think this is not a perfect 1-to-1 because I feel like you would still say that the finals is a bad game, but I feel like I feel the same thing that you're talking about, where I enjoy the finals, but there are a lot of issues that keep happening. So I feel like that could be a similar example to something that's happening like in your game. If it kept crashing or if all the other levels were too hard except for that one level, but people like went to that one level and go like, oh, this is really fun. I played it like 10 times this one level because it was so much fun, but I don't like the rest of the game. But, it's still left off with a good experience.
What's the question?
Well, you're just saying like, how would it be possible that that's the case? That people only enjoy this one section of the game, but not the entire game.
You said the first 10 minutes, right? Like not.
Like
they played it for 10 minutes, they didn't touch it anymore. But 10 minutes were great, but that was the hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
I think the answer is resounding that we would want to fix it.
Now in that scenario where there are technical issues where they're not coming back, then obviously, right, that's bad. That's we don't want this to happen.
You almost feel like you're on borrowed time too, meaning that like if you have a game that's really cool but there's technical issues, it feels like your audience will be like okay with that up to a point, and then they're gonna go like, dude, these guys suck. They can't even fix their fucking game. Like, and then people turn on you, and it feels like it's bad. I know that I'm making it too real, and you're trying to do something a little more hypothetical. But I think if we're keeping it hypothetical, if people aren't seeing your content, the goal inherently should be to fix it so that they do. The problem also is that every little thing we do is manipulating our players, and it's just what level of manipulation feels justified and okay, and what level feels like scummy. And there really is no clear thing. I think for me, I probably wouldn't put loot boxes in my game, but not because I think they're bad or evil or anything like that. I just think they kind of feel a little cheesy. I don't know. They kind of feel a little played out now. The only way I would do it is if it was as a meme for like a little small section as like a secret thing, but not like a pillar of game design. It almost feels like they've run their course. We know where they fit. We know when they aren't, when they're working properly like as a game pillar, game design pillar. But then elsewhere, I feel like they can be shoehorned pretty quickly. And if that's how you're designing your game for your reward system, I would question if you started there, if starting in a different place first, and then being like, if nothing else worked, I guess try loot boxes. But it seems like you can do way more fun, engaging things than having people sort of. It also makes it's like in a horror movie when we talk about you think about how they filmed it. When you see a loot box, you start to think less about the immersiveness of the game and more now like it's very gamified. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I agree with that. I think just loot boxes are fun. I just like opening the boxes. I kind of want to have that experience in a game.
You're just addicted.
Yeah.
You have a problem, Henry. This is why we did the podcast. This intervention here.
Yeah.
But
you owe me $3,000. You said you put them all in the loot boxes.
Like the fruit game, because I actually want to put in the fruit game. Like
I want to see you do that too, because I would like to see if I'm just wrong. If it's just an awesome thing, yeah. Fun.
Well, I think something that you said was like, well, if that's like your main incentive, that wouldn't be the main incentive, but it would be like a very nice add-on on top of it, right? Because I feel like you've been really sucked into that game.
Would it be any better or worse than unlocking things? Meaning like you had levels of different sizes, and then as you beat them or got a certain score in them, you unlocked different things. Would that be a worse engagement than just?
I don't think it would be as fun. I don't know if that's worse or not, but I don't know.
All right, so I've got a question for you, Henry, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Would you bet $1,000 that you're not addicted to gambling if you like loot boxes so
I
much?
don't know. You gotta get me.
He can't
What
win.
are the odds? What are the odds?
Odds are
The
10 to
over
1.
under.
10 to 1 odds.
Oh,
You
Jesus
get
Christ.
$10,000. No, but in all seriousness, back to my original question before we got like sidelined by this. Does loot boxes have a place in some certain type of game, or is it like, okay, loot boxes can be okay in... Oh, not okay, because I don't think they're really okay, but like, should we have loot boxes on only this certain type of game and definitely not in this certain type of game, or is it just
I think they're gonna take me out of a story game 100%. So the fruit game makes sense. There's no level of like I'm in the fruit game. I am the man putting fruit. It's like no, I'm having fun with a little arcade game.
Yeah.
And the loot boxes aren't taking me out of that immersion. But I'm imagining Far Gun Frontier of having like a loot box show up. You'd be like, what is that? What are you serious? Like I feel like that would take you way out of it. So I think it fits better in arcadey games that are taking themselves less seriously.
Do we have to take into consideration the target audience as well, right? So like some arcadey games might be very colorful and like cartoony. And
Only put loot boxes in games with
audiences.
kids with rich parents. I think that would be my goal. Just that
Yes.
way, you know.
That happen to know their credit card information as well.
If there's any way to take the data and with like a colorful like little character, like, hey, give me your credit card, and it's like, oh my god, I love this.
Yeah.
Slinky, this guy's great. Yeah, that would be fun.
That's so ethical, right?
Yeah, make it a horror game. Kids love that shit.
I feel like, I feel like it's interesting, or not interesting, but it's kind of like
I feel like Henry just ulted before, and now he's trying to regain energy for an argument.
I think it's a good point that I feel like we as game developers should be more cognizant, especially if we're targeting like younger people, or like if that's like an audience that that we know is being like would be interested in the game, like Fortnite, right? Fortnite, they got in a lot of hot water because there was like, you could buy V-Bucks so easily, and there was like a whole lawsuit going on.
There was also a big drama with Rocket League, which is like, I guess the age range of that goes all the way from like really young, because it's just a car soccer game, so it appeals to a lot of young people and older people as well. And there's a big age range in that. They used to have loot boxes in that one as well that you could buy with actual like money. You'd buy the actual in-game currency to open these. But when Epic took over, they actually removed them because of that controversy to do with, loot boxes, and it was targeting young audiences as well, getting into the gambling side. So I think they might have realized once Epic took over, like, okay, something's wrong here.
Yeah,
and if Epic's doing that, like, should we as indie game developers do that as well, and not include loot boxes for games that target younger audiences?
I think obviously it's bad. Yeah, you shouldn't.
But
But they're just fun.
I can feel it coming on.
But they're just fun.
I think yeah. I think it's we have to differentiate between paid loot boxes and unpaid loot boxes.
Paid is 100% worse. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I mean it's worse. Yeah, but I mean I think it's paid is unethical in almost any
Is the
case.
V-Bucks stuff like one step removed? You could pay for V-Bucks, and then there are loot boxes, right? You buy those with the V-Bucks. Is that what happens?
No, that
I don't
one
think in
is.
Fortnite, no, they don't have it on Fortnite.
They don't.
No, they
Have loot
don't.
box. I know in Overwatch they did for a long time. You would just get loot boxes, and then you could pay real money for them, but you got them for free a lot of the times.
Yeah, bro, I was so hooked on that. I got so many loot boxes, and then they took it away. That's honestly 100%. Like, I'm not joking. That was one of the reasons why I stopped playing Overwatch when Overwatch 2 came out, because they took away loot boxes.
They took away the loot.
No way.
Yeah.
Did you get? I got tons for free. I always felt like they did a good balance there.
Yeah, I got so many for free. I never.
Yeah, that's what I
never
paid.
spent any single money. Maybe I
Yeah, I
spent
remember
like $5.
I think I remember at one point letting them get up to like 100 like loot boxes, and then the second game came out, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
was just like,
yeah. It's.
I think I opened them all, but yeah. The evolution of the loot box, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about this or what time we have, is the battle pass. It feels like that was the evolution of being like, people don't like loot boxes, we're moving away from our game. Instead, if you could just subscribe to our service, and that way you can get this content, and it kind of makes you keep playing for longer.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, where you move away from the gambling side and you sort of lock people in, and sometimes you kind of hope that they forget that they're paying. So if some of them, like, you set it up like to annually take out money, but
Yeah, I think
most
Henry
of them you have
fell
to
for
do
that
every
recently.
season. Oh yeah,
Didn't fall for it.
sounds
I
like you
just-
fell for it, guys.
It just
Yeah.
it happened. The finals has a battle pass, so I was like, oh, maybe I should just get it. Kobe was
They-
supposed
I
to
was
get it
about
with
to
me.
get it.
Kobe was
I was about
supposed
to
to get
get
it
it.
with me, and then he ended up not.
I didn't, because you know why? My Steam credit card information was like out of date. It wasn't my recent one, so I was like, no, I can't be bothered putting my actual credit card.
But
I
the
got the most
value,
Post
the
Value.
like clarity, post purchase clarity.
Yeah,
And I was
you
like,
cleared
fuck
up.
this. No, I cleared up. My mind cleared up. I was like, oh my god, actually, like, no, that was gonna be such a bad purchase. And look at me now. I can't even play the finals because my computer isn't even good enough. Like, it's a gaming laptop, and like, what?
Wait, did that change?
Yeah,
Did they
yeah.
make the game worse?
Yeah, they kicked me out of it. They kicked me out of the game that is free and cost me nothing to install. But no, maybe that's a topic for another day. Like, should games be more optimized instead of just relying on more
that
high-end
definitely is.
PC
Yeah,
performance
yes,
specs? I
no,
want to talk about that.
I
write
think
it down.
every game should be unoptimized and should only be available to the highest end hardware.
Yes,
Exactly.
the elites. Yes, and then
The
we'll
next
sit there in a
gen
pile of money.
Only.
I'm going
Only
to
the
make a simple 2D platformer, and I'm gonna add in as much bloatware as I can.
Yeah, how many
just so it
polygons are
doesn't-
you gonna put on those characters?
I'm
right?
going
Yeah.
to make a square, a 2D
Just-
square, out of 2 million triangles. That's what I'm gonna do.
Only the 4 richest kings can play these games, and they all play
Just
against
chuck
each
a
other.
few like while loops in here and there. Oh my god.
The whole game is one fucking if statement. It just keeps getting further and further down the line. I think probably Battle Pass stuff is another conversation to be had, but I will say there's something to put a little bow on that, is that I think Battle Passes are less exciting. They solve the problem with Gamba, but then they just get more boring. Personally, I just think they kind of seem like, nah. And I don't think
Yeah.
gamers really love them that much either. But you
I
do get to avoid all the controversy.
What
Yeah,
happened
I
with
feel-
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
What happened to Henry with the Battle Pass is that he bought the Battle Pass, which is first of all money spent, but then he also, because of the Battle Pass, he justified the time he,
Yes.
he doesn't work and instead plays the finals. So he's like,
That is
well, I
true.
spent $10 for this Battle
Well,
Pass,
maybe
so I
not
kind of
enjoy
have
it.
to play
Might as
now.
well make
I don't really
use of
want to
my
play,
money, yeah.
but I will play to finish the Battle Pass.
Yeah.
And they put the
Yeah.
timer on it, so you feel like you have to do it by a certain
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
The season's gonna be over.
And then,
If to get the full benefit out of the $10, I have to keep playing.
Henry, you're very susceptible to these tricks. For someone who's like,
No.
I'm gonna use them, I feel like they're getting used on you. I feel like you're getting fucking taken to town here.
I think I'm very consistent, saying I like using them and I enjoy using them, and I would use them in my game. But I'm not like blind to the fact that they're predatory.
What's your credit score? Tell me right now. No, I'm just joking. I don't want you getting scammed. I don't want you. Yeah.
No, but it's not super often that like I have like it just it's just something that I saw. I was like, we've been playing this game a lot. I feel like I presented it in the fact like, oh, I want to get it, because whatever. But I was like, we've been playing this game a lot, and I was basically already done with the battle pass. I was like, it was almost towards the end, and I was just like, oh, I got $10, whatever.
By the way, does it change it at all?
Shut the fuck up, Maxi.
Doesn't it change it at all
Maxie's
for
very
loot boxes if the game was entirely free
Yeah, 100%. I don't
Yeah.
think I would be.
and the loot boxes are paid? I'm saying, right? An entirely
wait.
free game with paid loot boxes. Because at that point, it's like, well, if you play the game and don't buy a loot box ever, you are sort of like not giving back to the developer. But then if you do buy loot boxes, well, now you're getting rolled by the Gamba.
Yeah, I think the business model is just predatory at this point.
Yeah, it kind of is. Because you do kind of feel like for buying the Battle Pass on a free game, which I know the Battle Pass is not scammy, but let's just say, for buying a Battle Pass on a free game, you feel like you justify it because like, well, I do play this game a lot. Those developers worked hard on it. So does that kind of go the same way with loot boxes? If it was a free game, it's like, well, I do play this game a lot. It's like an investment, like $60. That's the price of a game. Let me just buy that in loot boxes. Like you
Yeah.
almost feel yourself.
I feel like that's a strategy, right? Like when you have your game for free, it by the nature of it being free opens it up to a wider audience, right?
Yeah.
And usually a lot of people who play free games are people who can't buy a game, like kids, right? Like for a parent to say like, hey kid, like here's a PlayStation, I don't have any games for you though. Like they're gonna go on to the PlayStation store and download free games, and then they'll see that. And I feel like that it's a problem.
The loot box thing also plays into our culture way better because it is way more fun to watch a supercut of your favorite streamer winning big, right? Like, oh my god, they got like this, and then you feel like, all right, let me buy a loot box. Like, all right, yeah. And then of course you're not gonna, win.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like anything to do with gambling, really. It's all
It's just funny how it all fits in our. It's so understandable why loot boxes got big because it does fit. Every piece fits perfectly with how games have come and gone. Like not gone, but how they've grown over the years. Like between the Twitch streaming thing and RPGs blowing up, it's like all of it fits so perfectly. It's like this what does make sense. Like, yeah, jeez, it is really effective. I'm gonna buy a loot box. Fuck it, let's go.
And
what about
folded
you,
under no pressure right there. Okay.
What about you, Zeth? Would you put a loot box? I feel like we talked about it. You said not for a story game or a main game, but I'm super curious to know whether I'm planning to do it. I'm like actively planning to do it, right? If the opportunity came for something, would you like?
Here's the thing. I think I would if I wanted to do it. I don't think I want to. If I wanted to do it though, I think I could take on the hate because I think you would get people that are just like nonsense hating you for it, and I don't think they'd have like their arguments grounded or have any idea. I mean, you'd have to just fight randoms on the internet. But I'm saying for the most part, I feel like I'd be okay taking on that battle. I mean, if I had a game and it made sense to have loot boxes in, as an indie game developer, I feel like you're gonna get hate, and I feel like I'd be okay with it. Like, yeah, fuck it, fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about. That being said, I don't have a game that makes sense for it, so. There's no point in doing it. I would do it maybe as a meme, like I said, as a small little Easter egg or a joke. But
April Fool's joke.
Like something dumb and something that people probably done a million times.
Gotta wait
I would do
next
that
year for that though. Gotta wait an entire year to do an April Fool's joke there. So
yeah, right.
Guess another year of development.
And then it's like it's just a joke unless you want to buy a couple loot boxes. No,
Yeah.
guys are just jokingly taking your credit card. Like, oh,
Yeah, just joking. Putting
Yeah,
your
well.
information
But
in,
as a joke,
please.
but as a joke.
Just
so I'm saying
seriously.
I wouldn't do it, but not because of moral stance or ethical stance. It's just because it doesn't make sense for the games that I like, and that kind of comes back to what I was saying before. It seems like when you start in any kind of creative endeavor, you have people want to create art, then they find success, then people come in chasing that success, and you sort of lose what it all started for. I'm trying my best to focus on the part where we're creating cool games that we would want to play. And the whole money thing, you think about it, but just trying to focus too much on it. And the hopes to make something cool. That's like the main goal.
Here's a topic idea. Maybe I shouldn't say this right now. But the topic idea was games. What? Games.
Games what?
Games.
What?
We like to make versus games we want to make, because I feel like those don't line up for me.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true actually.
No, that's not.
Everyone
games
wants
you want to
to
make
play
versus
an
games
MMORPG.
you like to
For
make?
me.
What?
The games we like to make versus games we like to play.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you said games we like to make versus games we want to make.
No.
Yeah? It's like,
Actually,
No, okay.
that could that's all. There's also a difference
Games
there
that you
too.
play. To see what he actually said.
Yeah, there is a difference there.
Yeah.
Like I love making platformers. I don't want to make any more platformers.
Yeah, I like.
you want, you like.
I
It's the same.
want to make a first person shooter, but I don't know if I would like that.
If you would enjoy the process of doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of people would
okay.
love to have like a big RPG. A lot of people's favorite games are that, but making a big RPG sounds like a nightmare between
That's
voice
awesome.
acting, quest scripting, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to see that topic, check out the next podcast next week.
All right,
We're locking it in already.
I think that's it for this episode. Unless anyone else has anything to say. My name is MZ_Eth on YouTube. I have MaxDev on YouTube, right? MaxiDev on YouTube, sorry. Henry Vera Studios on YouTube. And Kobe Dev on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we made some progress. Loot boxes are solved. We figured it out. Good job, guys.
Yes.
10 out of 10.
What did
I was
we
right
say
more than Henry.
Loot boxes were again? Did we sell it?
I think we said they're all cool and fun, and the more children that play your game, the more rich you're going to be. So good luck.
Yes. They're not
Alright,
predatory at all. especially if they're paid and easy to buy
Okay,
and
that
targeted
makes
to
sense.
children. Yes. Okay.
Alrighty, good episode. Oh, I didn't record.